cat, she's lining up a scene. Coffee cup, cat's tail, dancing in the steam. Every little click spins a brand new theme. Mrs. Right, that's right.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mrs. Right podcast. I'm Bronte Bennett, author of The Squire, and I'm also the host of this podcast, Mrs. Right. And of course, we are talking to authors about the wonderful world of authoring and also learning about new books that you might not otherwise be aware of. It's my great pleasure today to introduce you to Spencer Fearn. Spencer, hello and welcome to the Mrs. Right podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
Absolute pleasure. Now, where I'd like to start is with your Once Upon a Time. So just give us a little potted history so that our listeners know who we're talking to today.
Okay, well, quite a varied career, but I suppose started off with being a failed footballer, sadly, at 16. After 5 years in an academy, didn't quite make the grade, and then went on to run lots of different businesses in football, owning football clubs, rugby union, working in field hockey, the boxing industry, education, audits, just lots of different businesses, music. And
Wow.
the book we're going to speak about is my journey, of course, owning the worst football club in Britain. So my day job, I work at University Academy 92 as a course leader. I have the great privilege of working from Manchester United's Old Trafford a few days a week and teaching the next generation of sports leaders. I also work for the English Football Association as a coach developer, and I work as a coach at Doncaster Rovers, a League One club, for their youth development. So lots of different things around sport. And yeah, just got the bug of writing books recently. I don't know what's happened. So, of course, that's why I'm here.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it sounds to me as if you are wearing many hats, you have worn many hats, and authorship is another hat that you have now added to your collection. So what is your earliest storytelling memory?
So my earliest storytelling memory was when I was about 7 or 8 years of age, and I wasn't very good at school, but I wasn't so bad at English and storytelling. I remember getting called up at the assembly at Listerdale Junior School and being presented with whatever it was for this wonderful imaginative story that I'd written, so much so that my auntie, who lived at the time, was a librarian, and she read it and she was impressed. So I thought, oh, maybe this is something I do. And then it probably took me another 40 odd years to actually start writing the book. So.
So sometimes it's funny you should say that, because I was with my mum yesterday and we were remembering that when I was little, I was about, I don't know, 9 or 10. I've got loads of sisters, and I used to gather them around me and we'd use one of those old tape recorders. And I used to make radio shows on this old tape recorder, and I'd boss my sisters around and I'd go, hello, everybody, welcome to radio, whatever. And she said, look, you've gone full circle. Now you're podcasting. I was like, yeah. So it was always meant to be, Spencer, that storytelling start.
Press record, the top 40 hits. I used to do the same.
That's it, with both fingers at the same time.
Yeah.
Otherwise you couldn't.
To make sure you don't get the adverts as well. The adverts killed it, didn't they? I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. What motivated you to start seriously, though? So, you've got all these different hats on, you've got a million things going on, and I know you're also a family man, so you'd have a life outside of all of the work that you've got. What was the thing that motivated you to start writing seriously?
So during the pandemic, I was bored, as most of us were, and the story of East Stirlingshire, I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to write the story of what was a fabulously bonkers time in my life, so much so that my children, I have 4 children, as we spoke about, a son and 3 daughters, that they could read the story about what the dad got up to in his 30s, 20 years ago. And that was really the inspiration to do it. And yeah, none of them have read it, by the way.
I'm sure they will. Maybe when it's an audio book.
Maybe one day. But I just say it'd be nice, and I suppose live a bit of a legacy of the kind of things that I used to do, and just telling this, which I think is a wonderful story of belief, really.
Yeah, glorious. And was there a moment when you thought, this isn't just a something I'm writing for my kids anymore? So it's less a sort of hobby for the kids and more serious.
Yeah, I think so. And the book tells the story of obviously myself and my childhood, growing up, one parent family, feeding a kid, terrible at school apart from sports, which I loved, and really having a lot of failure as a young man, but still having this belief that I could achieve something, whatever that was at that stage. And then using the book really to inspire. Actually, this morning, after an hour and a half with the level 4 students, the first year students, on the story, and I do it across the university where I work. Not necessarily my courses, which are sports business, but other courses, because even though it's a football story, it's more of a story of, if you have a passion for something and you really believe that you can achieve something, then just go for it. Which in my 20s and 30s, you take a few more risks than you do at this stage of life, most certainly. So it's really about that, and no matter where you come from, what your background is, if you work hard enough, then you can achieve whatever you set out to.
That means a lot to me, because I'm one of those kids who didn't really do education and came from, the broken home and the council house. I don't know where the belief comes from, but sometimes you need to borrow a bit of belief from other people. So if they demonstrate that they believe in you, you start to believe that that's possible, and then you have belief in yourself, don't you? So I guess as part of your professional career, one of the things you're doing is lending them your belief until they've got their own, a little bit like I believe in you, and then they can develop their own self-belief a little bit more.
Yeah,
Tell us
absolutely.
about the book itself, if you were to describe it in 12 words or fewer, just to give people a sense of what they would get from it. How would you do that?
I mean, I think the word bonkers has been used. Funny, unbelievable at times, and I think just a feel-good story about
Nice.
this football club that was going out of existence, and just, I think, probably more than 12 words, but bringing people on the journey.
Yeah.
So it's probably around leadership as well. Lots of
It,
different things. Well, a book can mean, as you well know, different things to many different
it
people.
can. And that's very, as my stepdaughter would say, that's a true fact. So who do you think would enjoy or benefit from your words, those words that you carefully curated in your book?
I think anyone that has an interest in football, because it's a bit of a fly on the wall of actually what happens in the football at a low level,
Yeah.
but still some of the things that happen at a high level as well. And, maybe those young people that are probably 16, 17, 18, haven't had the best upbringing, didn't do well at school, because it's
Mm,
not just a football story. It's a
yeah.
story about taking risks, taking too many risks at times, and at times being highly unprofessional and getting told off at Hampden Park by the Scottish FA. But lots of funny stories, where my best
Yeah.
friend was mascot for the day at 35 years of age after a night out in Edinburgh, which was so. There's lots of different
Lots of
things there. But I think that the feedback I've had from friends, one of my good friends, Nick, he's never read a book in 30 years. He said he picked it up, he couldn't put it down because it's about 120 pages. I'm very matter of fact to the point. I don't say elaborate with lots and lots of words, and it just tells the story. And but it's been nice to receive the feedback, because, as you well know, when you write something, try to say, "Are you going to buy this?" or "What's it going
I
to be
know.
like? How's it going to
People
be
are going to
received?"
read it.
Those nerves that you go through. And to build on it now and tell the story. And I'll digress slightly, if I may.
Please
One of
do.
the key characters is Les Thompson, the chief executive, and the man who
Mm,
kept the club alive before I got involved. And Les sadly passed away 10 years ago. And I was away. I've been away for a few weeks with my family, and I got a message while I was away. And it was from a fellow who knew Les's wife, Maggie, who's still
yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
And she actually reached out. We had a conversation last week for half an hour, and she said that the book had brought Les back to life for her. It was a very emotional conversation. But,
Oh, wow.
there's things like people who sadly no longer with us are in the book, and when their families read it as well, it brings back that time, a very special time. So it was good times. It was a good journey.
You've just made a point that that resonates for me, and that's about immortalising people when you're writing about real people. You do give them back life, and you do immortalise them through your words, and that's something really lovely to be able to do. But you're also kind of immortalising yourself, because I've never had any children of my own. One of the things that I wanted to do was leave something behind, other than, a house full of rubbish that house clearance would have to come and take away. So just having something in the British Library was kind of like that. At least there's some evidence that I lived, even if it isn't. Yeah, exactly. So last question about your book, and then I'm going to move on to a little bit about you as a writer. I'm going to buy the book, I'm going to read the book. How would you like me to feel at the end of that book?
I'd like you to feel as though anything is possible. That's what I would like. That people read this and think, hey, this kid did it. He came from nothing and he did okay. And I think that's the message I want to get across. And also become fans of East Stirlingshire Football Club, because that would be lovely as well.
Whoop, whoop. Am I right in thinking that profits from the book are going back in to your club?
Yes, so over £1,000 be raised. About another £300-400 I've got to send them shortly as well. So I've done a bit of advertising on Kindle and stuff, which I'm sure will come to try and generate more momentum. But it's raised over £1,000, which is not an insignificant sum at that level that they play at now. So it's been well received. We've had a big reunion as well last September. We all got together, so it's just been nice.
Because people write for lots of different reasons, and I've spoken to lots of authors now, and we've all agreed that doing it for money is not the right reason, because you're never going to make very much. But I think when you're doing it, you're ploughing it back into something that you care about and that's really important to you. That is a wonderful thing. That means that you really are using your talent for the good of something beyond just sort of, I mean, let's be honest, none of us are going to feather our nests massively with our writing careers, but there's always a sort of another reason. Another reason for doing it.
Just a few days ago on the East Stirlingshire Facebook, I saw a fan or a new fan who basically read the book, and he lives in Devon or somewhere, and he actually posted, "I've read the book by Spencer Fearn, Belief. I'd like to donate a season ticket and buy one from somebody who needs it in the Falkirk area, because I live in Devon and I can't make it." And just little things like that, raising the profile of the club, has been great.
That's so brilliant. I love that. Those are the stories we want to hear. So how do you juggle your real life with your writing life? You've got a full-time job, you've got 4 kids. How do you juggle it all?
I write when I'm on holiday, bizarrely. So I know it's very difficult. I have 3 jobs. It's all around football, and I wouldn't change it. And I'm sure my wife Emma likes me out of the house, so I've a bit of feet to it. But I found with this book and the book I'm writing at the moment, so which is slightly different, is that I find I'm more creative on holiday. So Belief started in the pandemic, and then we went away last April for 16 or 17 days, and I just got into the groove. And I couldn't stop writing, and the kids are happy. They're doing, and where work goes dark at 6 o'clock, so I have early nights. I get up early. I go walking. I walk a lot. So I get a lot of creativity, and I think a lot. So not really music on most of the time now. It lets me think, and once I get into a bit of a flow, I find it okay. So really, when I go on holiday, when most people are relaxing and putting their feet up and have a few glasses of wine, that's when I start motoring with my writing. And I've been away for 19 years. I've wrote 34,000 words of a new book that I'm writing. So that's my best time, bizarrely.
That's amazing. And how do your family feel about the fact that you're there plugging away at your book while you're on your holidays?
So I get up very early. So could be like 4 a.m. So where we've just been, so I'm up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So I'll write for a few hours, and then I'll go for a walk for a few hours, and then the kids are getting up, and my wife will come in some mornings walking as well. Yeah. So it's not as though I'm not with them. But at night, if you've got an hour there watching whatever they're watching, that's what I've got right for now. So
love it.
The family time. So that's my best time.
Well, that's interesting to hear. And I think, bearing in mind that this podcast is aimed at both readers who are looking for new stuff to inspire them, but also other people who are either writing now or are thinking about becoming writers. One of the big questions is always, when on earth do you find the time to do it? And that is a great insight into how you've made this work for you, because everybody's got a different way of making it work for them, haven't they? I've got a yellow chair in the living room that's like my writing chair, and everybody knows that when I'm sitting in that, I'm writing, and that's that. So just bring me wine is usually what happens when I'm sitting.
I like that idea. That's a good idea.
Right. Yeah, have your special writing chair. But only after 6 p.m. I just want to caveat that by telling everybody that I don't drink throughout the day. It's only in the evening when I'm in my yellow chair. Tell me where you stand on using AI type tools for your writing. Do you have a view on any of that for editing or cover design or any of that stuff?
I do, and it's really most recent. So I've been using a AI tool called Anthropic Opus 4.7, which is
Ooh,
absolutely incredible. So the book I'm writing at the moment, The Business of Women's Football, which is an academic book, so I've done 4
yeah.
chapters. So, there's 45,000 words in total. I've just got the last chapter to write. So what I've
Mm,
done, by chapter, I've uploaded it to Opus 4.7 and check grammar, punctuation, flow, citations. The report it gives you is absolutely incredible. And it gave me probably 15 pages of things with one chapter that I need to look at. That doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Because previously, what I've done, when I did the book Belief, I must have sent it to 10 people. Could you have a read of
Yeah.
this? Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't. My grammar and punctuation maybe is not the best sometimes. So I had lots of
Mm,
feedback. But using this Opus 4.7, which is the highest version,
yeah.
unbelievable in terms of the book I'm writing now. So the 4 chapters, I've now edited those, and I've got
Yeah.
to go through and I use the read aloud tool as well, which I encourage
Yeah.
students to use. So you can hear it back, and does it flow? Does
Mm,
it make sense?
mm,
So yeah, I use that, and I think also for ideas, not so much with the book Belief because that was my
mm.
personal story, so I didn't need any thoughts provoking, but with the book now, which around the business of women football, right? What are the key commercial things that I can speak about? So it really provokes thinking. So yeah, I'm a fan of it really.
It's
As long as it's not cut and paste job, which our students sometimes think you can use AI for that. So
yeah,
it's more to get ideas and provoke thinking.
sure. And I think we can tell the difference between a human voice and an AI voice. There's
Yeah.
something in the way that people write naturally, and you can tell the difference between something that's been AI generated. There's like it's sort of flat, like there's no
No
character or
energy about it, is it?
personality or
Yeah.
energy. Exactly. So we can tell the difference. So I'm going to ask you whether you're a plotter or a pantser. But before I do that, I just want to explain to anybody who's listening that perhaps doesn't know what those two things mean, because I didn't when I started in the world of authoring. A plotter is somebody who plots and plans their entire book before they start writing it, and they'll often have whiteboards or walls covered in post-it notes, and they know what's going to happen, and then they write it chapter by chapter. And a pantser means somebody who flies by the seat of their pants, so they just write. It just comes off the ends of their fingers. They haven't thought about it, and often they don't even know how it's going to end. Which one do you fall into, Spencer?
I would say I'm a plotter with Belief. Pretty much the chapters I wanted to write. That's how it worked out. The book I'm writing now, what I had to do a proposal, which is a Routledge book, and I'm writing about something different. I thought I can do this. This will be better. This will be, I've run it by them, so expecting a book with these chapters, and it's what is he
Yeah,
talking about? He didn't say he was going to write about that, so I texted him. So I think this will be better. So I've got
yeah,
through it, and I thought, oh, but this would sit better, and I could structure it like this. So just thinking it, I suppose, as I go along the process, what could enhance it further?
yeah.
It's maybe a plotter, but sometimes we'll
All
change.
right. So you give yourself a framework, but you allow yourself the
Yeah,
freedom to change things up if it feels right
yeah.
as you're writing. Yeah. Okay. And have you ever read your book again after it's been published?
Yes, yeah, to see where the mistakes are. Yeah.
And did you find any?
Well, what I did, a lot of friends kindly bought the book, as you'd expect, to start with. And one of them said, you do realise at page so and so you repeated yourself there? Like, no. So that was the one trying
Oh,
to do that.
Spencer, it's
But
so
I've read,
frustrating, isn't it? And
yeah,
it doesn't matter how many times you go through it, somebody's always going to find something.
yeah. And all
My
the people that
stepdaughter,
reviewed it as
yeah,
well. And it's like, oh,
I
no.
know. My stepdaughter was reading my book at the weekend, and she came trotting into the living room and said, "You've written desert instead of dessert." And I went, "Oh." And it wouldn't have been picked up by spell check because it's a word, it's just not
Yes,
in the right.
absolutely.
Anyway,
And I think
hey
this is
ho.
where things like Claude AI Anthropic are fantastic because it picks that kind of stuff up.
So, my next question is, do you prefer a long or a short chapter?
Well, I think Belief has a mix of both, really. I like short. Yeah,
Yeah,
short, sharp, to the point, move on, new story.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think my interest span is quite low when I read as well. So if it's something that goes on and I lose interest. That's where I am. So when I'm writing, I like to keep it, punching, keep engaged.
I can totally relate to that. And I often read on a Kindle, and if it says 10 minutes left in chapter, I get this feeling of dread, like 10 whole
Yeah,
minutes?
yeah,
And I don't know why, but I think I am a low-hanging fruit, short-term goals kind of girl. I'm more motivated by something happening. I'm like, instant gratification. So if I think,
yeah,
3 minutes to the end of chapter, then I'll probably need to
no
read another
problem.
6. But I
Yeah,
just want to know that I'm going to be able to stop when I'm ready.
yeah.
Um,
Very similar.
yeah. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you've learned that you can share with our listeners who might be writers or want to be writers. My first question for you about that is what surprised you most about the publishing process? And are you traditionally or self-published, and what have you learned in that journey?
Yes, I'm self-published, so I did it via Amazon. What I learned as part of the process, I met a friend of mine, Paul, who's a journalist, who's retired now. He's wrote a few books himself, and I spoke to him about getting some support. I had absolutely no idea how I could get this book to market,
Mm.
and he approached a few publishing houses, but nobody was interested. So I thought, okay, I'll do it myself then. So watched a few YouTube videos. This is how you publish the book. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And just went through the process and then got it edited, of course. Had the cover designed, and I forget the guys that did that for me, which wasn't incredibly expensive. But what I learned, I suppose, like most things I do in my life, which is the book is about, is having belief in yourself and
Mm.
just give it a go.
Yeah.
And and getting people to read it as well. People who were part of the journey, some of my friends, and asking them as well and research. Can you remember any ridiculous stories when we were there? And so, oh, do you remember this? Oh, I'd forgot about that. So, the type of book it is,
Mm.
just I suppose building on what they remember as well, and the funny stories that happened. I think that enhanced the book as well. So just reaching
I
out to people.
like that. Or yeah, a bit of a cooperative. Gathering stories from other people and including those in your own book. What a
Yeah,
lovely way to engage people with the process as well. So
yeah,
they're part of that piece of work that you end up with.
yeah.
Um, if you were starting again today, would you do anything differently with your writing?
I would probably get it done sooner. So I started in a pandemic, and then it took probably another 4 or 5 years to finish it. So, so
Mm,
when the pandemic, I wrote probably 10,000 words, and I just left
yeah.
it. I lost interest, and it was only during this holiday last year that I started motoring. And I suppose it's realizing I can actually do this now. I can actually
Mm,
write, and the book's
mm,
done okay. It's not going to win
mm.
awards and things like that, but it's done okay. So I'd probably focus on it a bit more. And I think what I've learned now is my best times, I mentioned a little earlier, is when I have no work to think about. I'm generally in the sun. I've gone for a walk. I feel creative. They're my best because you're just having these moments, aren't you, with no stress in your life or anything like that. And the ideas just keep popping. So that's the thing I've learned the most is when I go away. So we'll go away in July. Not that I'm on holiday all the time, by the way. Sounds as if we are, but be nice. But we'll go in July, and that's I'll finish the book I'm writing now. That's not going to be my next book. So I know I'm going to have about 16 days where I can really crack on and make a start. That's been the biggest one.
Okay. So that's really good advice. So for those of you listening who are thinking about writing, one of the challenges is when am I going to do it? And for every one of us, it's going to be something different. Yellow chair with a glass of wine for me, on holiday for Spencer. But I think the important thing is that you find a time that works for you. And what's important is that it's a time when the words flow for you. So you can't manipulate creativity into your diary. Creativity comes when it comes.
Yeah,
I find I fill plot holes when I'm doing my water exercises. I walk up and down a swimming pool like for half an hour every day. And it's when I'm doing that and I've got no other distractions that I
yeah,
find the solutions to plot holes, or I realise what's going to happen next. Of course, the
yeah.
annoying thing about that, Spencer, is you've got no paper and pen to write it down with, so you're relying on your memory.
I
Can't even
remember
put it
it
in my
all.
phone. So that's good for my memory as well, which is failing me in my
Yeah.
50s. If you were to give one piece of advice, just one piece of advice to writers just starting out on their journey, what would it be?
Write your first chapter. Get started.
That
That's
is
all I know.
excellent advice. Yeah, just start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's advice I give students when it's dissertation, 5,000-6,000 words, they have a project to do. Just write your introduction and get motoring with it. And then at least you've made a start, and that will hopefully motivate you to continue writing.
Is there anything that you wish you'd understood earlier in this process of writing?
I think the publishing angle was quite disappointing, because I thought, it's quite a good story, this would be okay, but nobody was interested at all. And I thought, no, okay. But like most things, I just had to do it myself anyway. And I think the self-publishing route's been, because I've been in control of it as well.
Yeah.
You don't get a tremendous amount of money, of course, but it's more what it's raised, and then learning, the advertising part of it as well. On Kindle, you can pay to try and get up the rankings and get more people seeing it. So that's been a learning process, which you do in a normal business. That's what you do. You have to advertise.
Yeah.
If you look at that at the start, that probably would have helped it a little.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I think when I started writing this book, I really thought that I was going to query agents, get an agent, find a publisher, make loads of money, buy a yacht. That's what I thought was going to happen. The reality, of course, is somewhat different. But I've spoken now to so many independently published authors who have said you have control over your writing, you have control over when you launch your book, you have to do lots of publicity stuff. But then I've also spoken to traditionally published authors, big names, and they are saying you still have to do your own publicity, even if you're a traditionally published author, and you look like a famous name, and you're in the top 10 in WH. Oh, it's not WH Smith anymore, is it? TJ Jones, whatever they're calling them these days. You still have to do loads of your own publicity. So I think it's a bit like independent music production is becoming much more commonplace. Independent book publishing is becoming much more commonplace. And that's wonderful, because it means we've got access to artists and writers that are not being policed or fed to us by big corporations. Instead, we've got access to this work that might otherwise never have been made public property. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Very true. And I see that with a friend of mine who did an academic book with Routledge, and it's a great book. It's about grassroots sport. He's always promoting it, always, as are Routledge. Where if you go with a big course, it doesn't mean that you put your feet up. You've still got to do a lot of the groundwork as well.
No, those days are long behind us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the self-publishing angle, so the business of women's football that I alluded to earlier, it has to go through a process where it's maybe take 12 weeks, because it's short form, it's 50,000 words, 12 weeks before it's reviewed, and then it goes out to market, which hopefully will be the back end of the summer, ready for the new Women's Super League season. But I've no control over that. Whereas if I published it myself, it'd be out at the end of May.
Yeah.
Go. But then there's the benefit of being with a big publisher, of course, and their network, particularly in the academic world, which this book's for.
Yes. And you know what? If one of the big publishers said to me, "Hey, Bronte, we'd love to publish your book," I would say yes, 100%. I'd be like, "Have it. Do what you like with it."
And as you quite rightly said, you're not going to make much money, but I think it's the publicity get off the back of it. The story, the opportunity I've had to speak about it, to university students, hopefully inspire as well, has been the real bonus.
And you spent all those years writing it. You want people to read it. That's why you wrote it, ultimately. And one day, even your own children might read it.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for, I've read your book, Dad. It's quite good, that. Yes, maybe a few more years.
Maybe you should do it as an audio book. And if you do, you should do it in your own, you should read it in your own voice, because I think that would be really lovely. And what are the top 3 things an aspiring author should be focusing on right now?
It depends on the type of story as well, but it has to be something that's going to grab the attention of people. We're storytellers at the end of the day, and it has to be something that has a bit of excitement. It depends what different genre it is, I suppose. I think how you market it is really important. I'm very fortunate that, because I'm 51 years of age, you're at this stage of life, quite a lot of people. So I've worked in sport most of my life as well. So using your network to help. So when I released Belief, I just hit everybody on WhatsApp. Little crikey, what on earth is he doing here? Lots of people. Oh, nice. And I've not heard from you for 15 years, but thanks for the message.
Now you send me a book.
Buy my book. Much going for decades.
You've got to be a bit shameless, haven't you? Shy kids get no sweets, Spencer.
Yeah, you have to do it. So to say that, I think the marketing side, and I think really educate yourself about the process. I think that's really important. And YouTube was great, as simple as YouTube, just watching lots of videos. How do you do this? Because the start of the process, it was a bit too much. Well, how do I get a book edited? Who's going to design my cover? Is anybody going to buy it? Is it worthy
Yeah.
of publishing? All these things go around. But I think it's like anything. The more you build knowledge and educate yourself, the easier the process is.
Yeah, that's good advice. I went through similar things, YouTube, following TikToky things,
Yeah.
Instagram, anywhere and everywhere I could find information. I also joined Jericho. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they have loads of resources for authors. So I joined Jericho. And yeah, do you know, I love learning. So one of the things that I have taken a huge amount of joy from after finishing writing the actual book is how much I've had to learn to get it out there. And every time I talk to another author, I learn something new that I mightn't have thought of before. Or what you've just said, think about publicity. So the top 3 things, think about publicity, use your network. Brilliant. I hadn't thought of that. I also have a massive network, and they're all going to be getting a link to my book at the end of this.
Brilliant.
And do your research to find out how to do it for yourself. So that's fantastic. Yeah, you can expect an email with a link to the. It's not your cup of tea, I don't think, Spencer. But
Yeah, probably not for me, Sam.
But you never know. You might know somebody who'd love it.
Well,
You never know.
Send it on. Or maybe send a link and say, would you mind sharing it with at least one person? And then it just grows legs. And then
Now that is brilliant. Do you remember in the olden days they used to have that? Were they called chain letters? Do you remember chain letters?
Yes.
You're a bit younger than me. And it would say, write to 10 people and send them this letter. Do you remember that?
I do.
It was a funny old business, wasn't it? We'd do an email version of that with the squire link on it.
Yes.
So what's one thing listeners could do this week that would genuinely move their writing forward?
I would say if they have an idea, plot the idea, plot the book. So they've had an idea, I'm going to write a book, don't know where to start. Start building. What are your chapters going to look like? Is it going to be 120 pages? Is it going to be 300 pages? I think that get a bit of an idea. And then once you've got an idea of your book and the chapters, don't worry about the title just yet. The title for Believe just came really naturally to me because that's what it was. It just seemed obvious.
Yeah.
We'll get your chapters ready, and then the next stage, obviously, to start writing, thinking about how you're going to publicise it.
Okay. That's really interesting too, because you said don't worry about the title. When I first started writing, I already had a title. This is the third. It's had 3 titles, this book, because you're right. You don't know what the title's going to be until you finish writing the book. It's a bit like when people say they know what they're going to call their child, and then their child is born and they go, no, doesn't look like a Bob. Going to call him Neil.
That's right. That's it. Something good.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about how your book. One of the things that I've learned is that you should have an audience in mind when you're writing. So you're sort of writing for somebody, and you were writing for your children. So they were your person in mind. But I think that's another thing to bear in mind. Although your audience might be way broader than the person or the people that you're thinking about, having some kind of demographic, like for me, it was woman on a sun lounger sipping a cocktail somewhere warm. She is my woman. She will be reading my book. And for you, it was your children. And I think that's helpful because it guides you a little bit. What should I include? What shouldn't I include? What will they want to hear? What won't they want to hear?
That's really, really important. And I found, particularly the book now, is that I'm writing this book, The Business of Women's Football, because I have 3 daughters and a son.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate and an ally for equality in sports, because sadly we have a lot of inequality still, particularly in football and industry I work. So when I signed the deal with Routledge, I think it was last June. I didn't actually start writing until Christmas Day, randomly, just for an hour. I was bored. Open all the presents and, dinner's getting ready. I'm banned from the kitchen anyway, so I was like, I'm going to do it myself. And I just started writing, but I got to a stage with this book that, do I really want to invest all this time? Do I want to do it? And I kept coming back to I have a purpose of writing this book.
Yeah.
This purpose is my 3 girls. That's my inspiration, and seeing how good they are at sport, and how all 3 of them are fiercely independent as they get older, and strong young girls. And that was my motivation. So that really kick-started me. Right, I need to get cracking now. Stop messing about. It's been 6 months. I've delayed it a little bit because I had other things going off and get focused. So if you have a clear purpose for things, whether it's a book or any other things, it helps with your motivation.
Which links beautifully to the question about what separates somebody who doesn't finish their book and does finish their book. Is there a connection there?
Maybe there is. Is there a clear purpose? Aside of the book, well, the reason I do the work that I do, I have 3 words: creating brighter futures. So everything that I do in my life is around education, generally helping young people, whether it's football coaching or at a university. That's my purpose. So pretty much everything that I do is around that. And it's similar with the book as well. If there's a clear purpose that you want to get a message out or do it because of somebody who's dear to you, I think they're probably the people that complete. And have the enthusiasm, not just write a book for the sake of writing a book. You've got to have a real passion for what you're doing, enthusiasm about it.
Yeah, you do, don't you? I think I've been telling everybody that I'm a storyteller for so many years of my life. I thought it was time I actually put my money where my mouth was and finished something, because I've started lots of books and not finished them.
Yeah.
And this time something was different, and I can't pinpoint what it is that's different. So, if somebody was asking me for the magic pill that would fix that problem of who will finish writing their book and who won't finish writing their book, I don't know what the answer is, and I think it's probably different for everyone.
Yeah.
But for
There's got some
you,
different
it's
external
very
factors.
purpose driven. Yeah, for sure. What does success as a writer look like for you now, and has it changed?
So at the outset of Believe, if I sold more than 200 copies, it was an incredible success because, as I mentioned a little earlier, you have the nerves. Is everyone going to buy it? Or how's it going to go down with the East Stirlingshire fans? Because the title is Buying the Worst Club in Britain. Even though we still don't like to be referred to as that. And I think success for me, the story I shared a little earlier about somebody in Devon buying season tickets for people in Falkirk, that's been a real success. Reconnecting with people because of the book, the reunion we had in September, and one of the characters, one of the players, Carl Thweisson's from Norway. He flew in from Oslo just to be there, and the fans, and it'd been 15 years we'd been apart. Those moments for me, you don't make any money, as we said, writing, but they're the moments. That for me is success, because it's brought people back together again at what was a very special time in most of our careers. And for the fans as well, to have the 4 wonderful years that we did. But one of the characters in the book is Mad Bill, one of our crazy fans, as the name suggests. He used to turn up with a carrier bag with loads of whatever he could get from the off license, and he was quite vocal, was Mad Bill. Has 2 daughters. Bill is sadly no longer with us, but Sophie, his daughter, reached out and she said, "Do you know what, Spen? We didn't win promotion, but we had the best 4 years. We had so much fun." And that was nice, to receive that about the impact it made and still does. But when we all got back together, that was success for me. It's incredible.
That's beautiful. How do you manage the because I don't write about any real people, so when you're writing about real people, do you have to get permission to write about them? Do you have to think about how you represent them? Are there any ethics or rules about that kind of stuff?
Not so much. I think if you're being kind about people, which I am, I think people don't mind that. You have to be very careful. There's some characters in the book where I've changed names to
protect the innocent
and protect myself. Yeah, particularly one of the characters. It got a bit hairy at some stages up there, but yeah, I think people generally do it. And when I did the draft, I shared it with Jim McAnally, who was the manager at the time. And he loved it, he loved it, and he probably thought I held back a bit on some certain things, but just people who were there, just testing, because it was so long ago. Did it actually did it happen like that? As my memory as time's gone on, did I see certain situations? So that was the importance, having people who were on that journey to review it as well and say, yeah, factually, that is correct. It's very important if you're speaking about people. A lot of it's done with love for the people that I met.
Yes,
that it is true. Because I might have misinterpreted or I might have not remembered something quite correctly.
Well, that's a really good point, because we do. I'm one of 4 girls, and we all remember our history growing up really differently and argue like mad about who had what at Christmas in 1976, because we remember our histories differently, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think fact checking it is very important.
Yeah, good. And I think the point you made about as long as you're representing people well and nicely, it's all good, isn't it? Do you read? Like, what would you read if you ever had? I mean, I'm asking you, do you read? Because I can't imagine where you'd fit it into your day. Are you a reader?
I was until I started writing books. So the things I read now are things relating to the next book that I'm writing. Research, particularly if it's an academic literature. So that's really important that I do a lot of reading about that. But I used to read a lot, holiday. When I wasn't writing, which is only a recent thing, I would do 3 or 4 books a holiday. And a big fan of leadership books, Simon Sinek. I love Simon Sinek as an author. I think he's incredible. So I do read a lot of that. So, but yeah, I kind of read as much as possible.
Okay, I've got one last thing to do, and it's called my 10 in 10.
Right.
Now, you might be familiar. You don't know about these questions because I want this to be your instant response.
Oh, here we go.
So I was asking you whether you're a reader, and so the first one might be tricky, and the second one will be easy. So I'm going to give you 10 this or that, and I just want you to give me your answer, and you can tell me why you've answered that way if you wish, or you can just give me the answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready to roll.
Number 1, thinking of yourself as a reader, not as a writer. Sweet or spicy?
Spicy.
Ooh, nice. Fact or fiction?
Oh, facts, definitely. Being from the academic world, we only deal in facts, don't we? We'll try to.
And I don't know how this works in academia, but cliffhanger or happy ending?
Oh, happy ending. I love a happy
Nice.
ending. Yeah.
Short or long chapters?
Short.
E-book or physical book?
Physical.
Series or standalone?
Standalone.
Dog-eared or pristine?
Pristine.
Bedtime or any time?
Anytime.
One at a time or multiple choice?
Yeah, one at a time.
And bookmark or fold the corner?
Oh, fold the corner. Terrible for that.
My goodness, I'm staggered.
I know.
Folding the corner. It's amazing how many people find that hugely offensive, but, I can never find my bookmarks, even though I've got thousands of them. So I too find myself falling into fold the corner.
And I highlight things as well, which is even worse. It's terrible.
Oh, shameful. But hey, Spencer Fearn, author of Belief, it has been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to spend this time talking to you. Thank you so much for joining the Mrs. Right podcast and sharing your journey. I shall put in the bio everything you need to know about Spencer, his book, and where to find it. And we look forward to the next one. Thank you so much. Great talking to you today.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Tap, 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 she's lining up a scene. Coffee cup, cat's tail, dancing in the steam. Every little click spins a brand new theme. Mrs. Right, that's right.